Whoa, guys, welcome in here to Clear the Ice Flyers post-game show. Matty B, I've seen some oddities, some frustrating oddities in the years that we've covered sports. Me and you've been a few years together, but in all the years I covered sports, I don't think I've seen, especially in hockey, I've seen 3 disallowed goals in one game, let alone one half of a period. Tonight was a weird game, a game that the Flyers just came off a stretch of 7 straight games against top 10 teams. Now they start a stretch against 6 teams that are in the bottom 12, and they don't start off on a good foot here. 4-1 loss to the Habs, the Canadiens, however you want to call them, in Montreal, up in Montreal. And as I mentioned, I'm here with Matty B. What's going on, Matty B?
Hi, Al. How are you today? For you and everybody else out there, I hope you stay dry today. I know the torrential biblical portion rains that fell upon the Delaware Valley. It was the right call to postpone the Phillies game. So I hope everyone out there is safe and dry.
I'm pretty sure the Citizens Bank Park is still underwater right now.
Yeah, and I don't even know if tomorro's going to go because
I believe
they
had to
pump
go
that
through.
thing out.
They had to go through 7 napkins to dry off the stadium. What a loss of a day. But you know what? It just gives us something more to do tomorrow, Matty.
That's right. That's a good point.
We would have been doing double duty today, so maybe it worked out a little bit for us. We were able to concentrate more on this not good Flyers game. I don't know, however you want to look at it. But guys, we are talking Flyers here on Clear the Ice. Reminder, it's brought to you by Sherry'sTickets.com, CherryInjuryLaw.com, DolansBar.com, the PhillySportsTrips.com, and a new one over here at the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar, which we'll talk about momentarily. But what's up, Daniel? It's always good to always hear from you. Always the first to chime in. He's like race to the chat. Daniel always does. But like I said, Flyers lose a bit of a clunker, especially the first 2 periods.
Yeah.
4-1. We'll go over the scoring in a minute, but let's just talk about generally the tide of this game. Outside of the third, maybe a little bit at the end of the second period, but the third period, it was all Montreal. They were in control of this game for the first 2 periods. Then it seemed like, oh, wow, Flyers found their way. They're only down 2-1. They got 2 goals, Matty B. Or you thought.
Yeah. Yeah, the disallowed goals, obviously, the first one was on the that distinct kicking motion of Garnet Hathaway as he was inside the crease in a massive humanity, and then he kicked the puck in. Well, I mean, you see a skate, then you see a puck. Yeah. You don't actually see the skate hit the puck, but then again, you don't see any sticks around. So, they looked at one for a while.
I said to you off air, I said, I know it's the right call, but when you look at that over the top view and you see like 5 Canadians like tombstone crunching Garnet Hathaway, like how he could see anything, let alone his feet kicking a puck. I mean, it's just moving humanity, but like you said, the stick's not around. They called it back. I could see that going either way, but that's why I'm not arguing the facts on that one.
Yeah. And then the second one was it was clear as day. Once they looked at it, Forster was offsides, and the play obviously that led to that was a goal. The right call. You got to give Martin St. Louis and the Canadian video people credit here. They were the wizards of the telestrator tonight, and I
do not have to do that.
Well,
I do not, and I won't.
You don't have to do that, but they are part of the reason why the Canadiens won tonight, because of their keen eye and then the way they kind of looked at those goals. And then, of course, on the other end, Nick Suzuki thankfully didn't get credit for a goal where he obviously high sticked it. The first time was a high stick. He played it with a high stick. Then when the puck was coming down, he hit it again, which was at crossbar length. Which down there at the goal mouth, when you're trying to play a goal or play a shot that goes in goal, you can hit it at cross post length. But the problem is you already hit it with a high stick, so that also was the right call. Al, listen, it was not too much. Those goals were frustrating, or those 9 goals for the Flyers were frustrating. But what was even more frustrating to me, as you mentioned it, that gauntlet, those 7 games against perennial Stanley Cup contenders, and then you come out against the Montreal Canadiens, a bottom feeder, a top 10 projected drafting team this year, and you're lifeless. There was no sustained offensive pressure from this team at all tonight. There was a lot of rushes. There was a lot of attempted rushes. They were pitiful on odd man breakaways. I think 3 2-on-1s tonight, were just run horribly. No passing, no creativity on the 2-on-1s. It was a straight look and shoot. It was really, really discouraging that we're in game 73, or I think tonight was 74, and they're pushing for a playoff spot because they haven't won anything yet. They're not in the playoffs yet. And they put out an effort like this tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. And pregame, Tortorella addressed the media and said, I don't need to talk to the team. I don't need to address them to tell them the importance of this. They're adults. They're grown men. They know. John, you might want to rethink that philosophy or that tactic because they didn't seem like they knew it tonight.
No, they came out super flat, like I said, and you would think at least after the first period he was going to have something to say at that point.
Yeah.
I know I had plenty to say, and I'm not even a coach, so it was all Montreal that first period, and we'll get into the scoring. Why don't we break the scoring a little bit down as we talk about it? Because up until that point, into the end of the third, not much goal action was happening, and even all the goals that happened in the third period are a little weird, and we'll get into that in a moment. But Nick Suzuki did start it up, making it 1-0. Pass right in front of the net. Matty B made his 30th goal this season. First time hitting 30 goals in the season. Nick Suzuki keeps up every year, getting scored more goals on the year for the Canadiens. But started tonight. You thought the Flyers probably had the upper hand. They're coming. Canadiens are coming off a road trip. It should have been. If anybody had the energy in that first period, I thought it should have been the Flyers. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so that goal was really bad. You lost control or you lost contact of Suzuki. He kind of went down below, kind of was facilitating the pass, and then he kind of just creeps right up behind the defense. And Ronnie Attard, give Ronnie Attard the credit, or I don't know at this point if we're giving out moral victories and attaboys to players who maybe not or should be here at this point. But you cannot lose sight of a player behind you. The Flyers did that, and Suzuki made him pay.
Yeah, Slavkovsky, I think I'm saying that right. Just passed it right in front of the net. Nobody watch Flyers just watch it go by, and there's Nick Suzuki there just to clean it up. Just like Sam Ersson didn't poke at it. No, two other Flyers did not poke at it, at least to try to put anything within in the way of that puck. And scored the first goal of the game and kind of set the tone because, again, especially in this first period, it felt the Flyers were always playing from behind, and Montreal just were doing whatever they want. Now, speaking of hard names to pronounce, another big goal for the Canadiens in this fact that they is it Uninen or Ulinen? I think I'm saying that right. I don't know.
I'll go with that. That's I can't even figure that one out. That's a
when you see the two little dots over the O, I'm trying.
And then with a Y, I don't know. I mean, that makes it even worse.
It sounds like they're saying Ulinen, but I'll go with that. Put up the Habs 2-0. Snapped a 43 goalless streak. He hasn't scored a goal since November 16th, 2023. And Struble put the puck on the net like you're supposed to, bounced off a pad, and he was there to clean it up again. It wasn't anything fancy, but they didn't need fancy to beat the Flyers.
No, it was a really hockey play 101. Erson's got to do a better job. He's got to control those rebounds, and Igor Zamula's got to do something more down low too. He just kind of got overpowered, and the puck came right out, and it was just bang, bang, bang. It was hockey 101, as you mentioned. Not a pretty goal, but there's no additional points for style. It's a goal.
Yeah, puck in net. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Struble will pick up the assist as well. Suzuki earning a second point after his first goal of the game early on. And that was it for the most part. Things got a little scrappy at the end of the first period. You were hoping that maybe the Flyers would regroup and, like we said, maybe Torts would tear into the guys a little bit and have something finally to say. Like I said, I don't know if I was expecting this, but there's a little bit of like, all right, we just did really well and held our own, kept our head above water while playing some of the top tier teams in the NHL. It's just the Canadiens. I was hoping they wouldn't do that, but it kind of felt that way. And even in the second period, there was no scoring. There was action, but no scoring. And if you just look at total shots on goal, not many shots on goal. The first period was 11 total. Second period was 15 total. So not a lot of action there, but a lot of scrappiness in that second period, even to the point where I thought Owen Tippett almost took a cross check to the mouth.
Yeah, it got very physical. And now to comment on the shots, for the game it was 30-17 Flyers. Again, they almost 2 for 1 them. The Flyers are the third highest shot total team on the season, but yet they're scoring less than 3 goals a game. And I don't know if this is a I know there's a difference between a shot and a scoring opportunity, and I get all that, but it's that's what's even more frustrating, that they just can't. They're getting the offense, they're getting in the zone, they're getting the shots, but they just cannot finish. And it's been a common theme all season long. But you know what else has been a common theme all season long and forever? It's the great prices that you're going to find at Sherry's Ticket Town, right? If you're looking for sports, concert, theater tickets, look no further than Sherry's Ticket Town. Family owned and operated since 1946. Reach them over at www.sherrytickets.com. Save an additional 10% when you enter the promo code. Enter the promo code.
EOP10.
That's right. That is the promo code
EOP10.
Over at
You
Sherry's
tried. I'll give you credit on that one.
No,
Listen, that was a good segue, though. That was a good segue.
You thought I forgot. You thought I forgot.
I didn't know. I wasn't sure. I was like sitting there, I had the finger on the trigger there. I'm like, do I have to do this? Do I have to do this? But no. So the second period again was very lackluster. The Flyers had a tiny bit of life, maybe not last 2 minutes in the second period. Getting excited. Maybe the Flyers will come out on the third period, and that's where things got weird and frustrating. As we said, theme of tonight's show will be frustratingly weird. Flyers game, losing 4-1 to the Montreal Canadiens in Canada up at the Centre Bell Stadium. So the first one's like, all right, Garnet Hathaway, just a couple minutes into the period, things look goal. But of course, that kicking motion, as we talked about, was seen as there was, I think I counted 4 or 5 Canadiens tightly shoulder to shoulder around him. It looked, again, I can understand it being called that way, but I can understand it going the other way as well. And the hockey gods were not having that at all. And they continued not to have it. Morgan Frost, we said, okay, lost that one. They got off the schneid. Morgan Frost scores a goal. Nope. And one of my favorite Flyers right now, if I was buying a young Flyers jersey, a guy I'd probably maybe look into buying, Tyson Forrester, was caught offsides by a hair, but still a hair nonetheless offsides. And that one was taken away from him. Matty B, what were you thinking at that point?
Well, I think I was more really like gut punched for that first one that was called back, the kicking motion one, because that was an ample time to get that first goal. 15 minutes remaining in the period. It was an early period goal. It would really kind of maybe hopefully turned, because we've seen the Flyers scoring a ton of goals in the third period all season. Mm-hmm. Seems to be their period, and seeing that goal at that time of the game would have really, I think, maybe changed the landscape of the rest of this game. That to me was the real kick in the junk. As far as the Tyson Forrester goal, Frost passed it up to Ford. Yeah. And as far as that goal went, I in real time you can't tell he's offsides. I mean, it's so bang, bang, bang. They had to go back and look at it. So I thought it was a clean goal. I was actually really I was like, why are they looking at it? There's nobody's in the crease. There was, I don't know what the problem was. And then Bush mentioned it was probably because of offside. So, but again, that first goal really, really hurt me.
Yeah, and again after that second one, you're like, that could have tied the game up. And they mentioned prior to the beginning of the third period that the Canadiens were 18-0-2, leading by 2 in the second period, and it looked like the hockey gods wanted it to stay that way. But a third disallowed goal for the game, and like I said, in one half of one period of a game for the most part, would have been Nick Suzuki's second goal of the game, but he was caught on a high stick motion first, and then kind of above shoulder level on the second movement. So either way, it was getting called back. And Bush was trying to make a joke of this. Do they get to lose another goal and bring it down to 1-0?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
But no, that's not exactly how it would have worked. But that was 3 disallowed goals on almost a half of the game. Were you feeling at least somewhat optimistic at that point, Matty B, that maybe the hockey gods were starting to smile on us a little bit, or is it just no?
And no, no.
No.
And I know I might be stealing your thunder a little bit, but if you fast forward a little bit further into that period, there was the controversial call with Scott Lawton, who got his helmet removed, and they didn't call the penalty, and the Canadians ended up going up and scoring a goal there. But I think it was on the empty netter, right? They scored on that. So
Yeah,
that
that
was the
was on
first.
Joel Armia's empty
Yeah.
net goal.
Uh, I understand the frustration there, and it was, he kind of punched him in the head, removed his helmet, and that's not legal. But once again, you're talking about a Flyer power play that has been beyond anemic. 31 for 235 now on the season. They were 0 for 4 tonight, 13.1%. So it's hard for me to get excited when it comes to any kind of special teams, and now I'm getting concerned on the shorthand, on the PK, because since March 9th, Al, if you didn't know this, the Flyers have been shorthanded 27 times, and they've given up 10 goals shorthanded for about 63%. So I'm not feeling that either anymore. So there's a lot of things that are just kind of, for me, unraveling a little bit about this story this year. But I could see where a lot of people might think that, hey, we got one. They disallowed the high stick goal, but I wasn't, man. I just, the whole game was just, I just didn't like the way they played the whole game, and I saw a little bit more of an urgency in the third period, but not enough. The Flyers should never be bogged down against. Even the Flyers can't take games off. They cannot take games off against anybody, but they should have skated right past the Canadiens. They really should have.
They should have, and they should have started a nice win streak. I mean, yeah, maybe we look past this one over the next 5 games, and it's just they go 5 for 6, and this is just a speed bump in the road of life for them. But it's one that you absolutely agree with. They should have had three disallowed goals in the first half of that, and then, like you said, they scored right after that missed or botched call where it knocked his helmet off, and Joel Armia scores on an empty netter, because it was about like 2.5 minutes, I think, about when they called, or a little bit, almost a little less than 3 minutes at that point, when he scored that goal. They pulled the goalie early just to see, let's see if we can get, I don't know about the Flyers, but every time they get a man advantage, I get nervous. But it is what it is. But they score that, which pretty much was the dagger in the heart. You had 2 disallowed goals, missed call, and now Joel Armia scores, and feels like the nail in the coffin, Matty B.
Yeah, it did feel like the nail in the coffin, but gotta give the Flyers some credit. They didn't stop. They kept coming, and then Owen Tippett finally found the back of the net and ended Keith. I just said I was going to say Keith Primeau. I was going to say Keith Primeau. You know that. I just don't know. I did this the other night with Mike. It was God, I forget the players. It was Toronto player. I referred to his father, and was that?
Domi?
No, it wasn't Domi. Maybe it wasn't Toronto. It was a game me and Mike had, and I referred to his father, the player's father. Obviously, the same last name. Anyway, it's getting to a point where when did this happen? When did the children of the players that I watched?
Old.
When did they break into the league? And Caden Primeau.
Yeah, you forget that, especially in hockey of all the major sports, these guys can start as early as 19 years old, sometimes younger. So it is not unheard of for, to see these young guys, these guys that we grew up watching, kids, and soon we'll have grandkids in there,
That's when I'm done. That's when we'll step away. Once the grandchildren are playing, I'm stepping out. But Caden Primeau had a chance tonight to be the first Canadian goaltender in, I don't know, ever to have 3 consecutive shutouts or home shutouts, and Flyers were able to end that with a pretty little goal by Tippett, taking advantage of some screens in front. So Flyers at least got on the board, but it was absolutely too little too late.
Yeah, too little too late. Joel's asking, so can Montreal player get suspended?
For the Scott Lawton thing? Is that what he's asking?
For knocking the helmet off?
No, you can't get suspended.
I mean, if that Owen Tippett cross-check was a little higher up in the face, he might have been. That might have been a suspension.
It might have been.
I don't know exactly what Joe here is talking about. But yeah, Joe, maybe explain us a little bit more what exact moment you're talking about. But as you just alluded to, Owen Tippett did finally get the Flyers on the board, snap the 0 for streak for the game, putting it up 3-1 Montreal. Garner Hathaway and Travis Konecny both get an assist on this one. It was another close call. It was almost an offsides call on this. I mean, they cleared him when he came by, but they still went and checked the goal. But it could have been another offside, but the goal stood. Moral score victory. Just goes to show you what Owen Tippett can still do, even when this team isn't playing well. And another guy, young guy, if you said, Al, you have to buy one of these young Flyers guys jerseys, I think Owen Tippett would be one I would put on the possibility list.
Yeah, no, Owen Tippett, Tyson Forrester, and even to a certain degree now, Morgan Frost are definitely cementing themselves as cornerstones of this foundation that we're going to build upon. And as you mentioned, the close call there coming over the line, but thank God it stood. It was onside, and Tippett was able to bury it. But if you have some close calls in life, you should not rely on instant replay. No, you need to rely on our guy, Dave Cherry. That's right. Dave Cherry for all your workman's compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, or criminal law. Check him out at www.cherryinjurylaw.com or give Dave a call at 610-565-0300. Tell him UP sent you.
That was a good segue. I really like that. You're stealing my segue championship from me. I'm not liking it.
I've been watching. Yeah, I've been watching and learning. So I practice at night in the mirror.
Yes, young grasshopper, you are learning. And that wouldn't be all the scoring. There'd be one more scoring, another empty netter for the night. So two empty netters on. So you had two empty netters on the night and 3 disallowed goals. Again, weirdly frustrating night. Jake Evans just flips the puck over. Who was it? Garnet Hathaway's head, I think it was.
Yep.
And there's enough English on that puck to slide it through and with the right trajectory and score that empty netter. Pad the stats for Jake Evans. There you go. For Jake Evans' 6th goal this season. Matheson and Armia will get the assist on that one somehow, some way. You get assist on empty netters like that, but it is what it is. And that would be ultimately the last goal of the game because it was just about a minute 1 second left in that game, and it would. What do you say at this? You're Matty B. You're Torts. You're John Tortorella at this point.
Yeah.
What do you say? Do you take the hey, you scream and yell, but clean, say, guys, wash this one away, be very short-minded with it, move on. Like what do we got coming up next? We're moving forward. What do you do at this point?
Well, I think I'm going to take the approach that he mentioned in the pregame today, or after the morning skate, his interview. When mentioned about playing time and ice time for certain players, and he says, I'm at a point now where I'm putting the 20 best players on the ice to play because we need points. That's the reality of it. We need points. So the 20 best guys are going to play, regardless of who it is. And it made me thinking that this is still part of the rebuilding process. You got to, and it kind of brought that back into focus for me because, putting out a young team, teaching them how to be cohesive together, teaching them how to play the team game, that's all fine and good. But at a certain point, there's no more rah-rah. At a certain point, you've graduated, and the next level of that is going out and finishing this and getting this to where it needs to be. So either if they do or do not finish it, this is all part of that maturation process of a 1-year rebuild. Don't forget, we are still in a 1-year rebuild. So I think what Tortorella is going to do is kind of follow that philosophy. He's going to treat it like he would treat any veteran team that's making a playoff push and do what he's got to do to kind of get them there and let them be team-led. I mean, he's got the team leadership in place. He's going to let them be team-led. And at this point, Al, I don't know how many more tables he can throw or how many more chairs he can throw because we're in crunch time beyond crunch time, 8 games left to go in the season. If they don't know how important these games are just by that, I don't know what John Tortorella can do to tell them that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, how many? And also, when a dog barks too much, sometimes you ignore the dog.
You tune it out.
The bark loses its bite a little bit in that situation. So yeah, I guess you have to take that. If you don't know by now what importance these games are in the season, in the regular season, you should know, and it should be an issue. Real quick, before we talk about one of our other great sponsors, I want to go over some of the stat lines of the game tonight. Shots on goal, almost 2-1, as you said earlier, 30-17 in favor of the Flyers. Flyers, inched a little bit in the face-off percentage, 50.9 to the 49.1 over the Canadiens. Power plays, Flyers had 4 opportunities, but dropped all 4 of those opportunities. And the Habs were 1 for 2 on the power play opportunities in their behalf. Penalty minutes favored the Canadiens, 14 to 10 for the Flyers. Canadiens were definitely, like I said, much more physical team, especially in that first 2 periods. And the hits, excited to tell you the story alone, 26 to 18 favor the Habs. Block shots, 22, which is usually the Flyers' MO, but 22 block shots to the 13 for the Flyers. 11 giveaways for the Habs, 9 for the Flyers, and 8 takeaways. 8 takeaways for the Habs, and only 1 for the Flyers, and that is recipe for disaster.
Yes,
so now with today's game, that's a 1-1 tie on the season. Flyers beat Montreal 3-2 in a shootout back on January 10th. Of course, lost tonight 4-1. And the rubber match, what everybody's going to be waiting for is the April 9th game to see who wins the season series against the Montreal Canadiens.
Because that really matters a lot. But for those of you here on the network, you guys don't realize how close you came to getting a double dose of Big Al and Matty B today, because earlier today we were supposed to bring out the inaugural episode of Season 3 of the Fighting's Final, but due to the inclement weather, as I mentioned, the biblical rain that we received here in the Delaware Valley, I was too busy building an ark to do the show. So you guys will get us tomorrow, but we are proud here on the Fighting's Final to introduce our brand new sponsor to the show, the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar at 5400 Fern Boulevard in Drexel Hill. They are going to host a multitude of live events for the Fighting's Final, both pre and post game this season. The first one being on April 7th, as we will get ready to give you the rubber match of the Phillies Nationals game. If everything has been dried out, I caution everybody, if we are no longer underwater, we will do the Fighting's Final. If I got doing scuba gear, I will, but I anticipate it to be dry. But we'd like to welcome the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar to the Fighting's Final family.
I want to add something because we just did this last night. We added a little wrinkle to that. Joe and I announced it late yesterday during EOP Live. But
yes,
there will be for you who come out to the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar that night. We will, and every one of those events up until through the August events, there will be free ticket giveaways. Joe Sheeran's own personal tickets. He's reaching into his pocket, and he's going to give you 2 of these tickets. And I can tell you right now, they are very good seats, and they are not against the Kansas City Royals. Okay,
So-
they're against really good teams. There are matchups you're going to want. So for those who come out, you will get an opportunity to win 2 free tickets to a future game, and I will give you one hint: it will be in May.
So I won't be up there on the 326 level kissing the scoreboard. Is that what you're saying?
No, not for this one. Yes, they're very good seats, very good tickets, and a very good team for this first a team that you will want to go to a Phillies game for. So
Are these tickets open to everybody, like including the host and the co-host of the show?
It is anybody who works for EOP is voided from any competition. Unfortunately, so
no, it's going to be good, and definitely, I did see that on your show last night, and I forgot to mention that, but yeah, that's going to be fun. But as I mentioned, it's frustrating tonight. We're in the midst of this thing, and as you can see here, we got one more to go this week. Connor Bedard will make his first appearance in South Philadelphia and first appearance against the Flyers, and Mike and Pat will carry you on Saturday. But we got to win these games, man. I mean, I don't even want the 1 point anymore. We need 2, and we got some help tonight. And Al, if you don't mind, I'll take us around the NHL if you're ready for that.
I'm ready for it.
All right, let's head around the National Hockey League on this Thursday night. Games that are currently still ongoing. It is 4-3 St. Louis over Calgary with about 8 minutes to go in the game. Out there in Minnesota, 2-1 Wild over the Sharks coming to the end. 4 minutes left to go in the game. The Knights and the Jets are tied at 1 in Winnipeg with about 8 minutes left. Second period action in Colorado between the Rangers and the Avs. Nothing. Second period in Edmonton, it is 1-0 Oilers over the Kings. First period action kind of underway. Nothing between the Stars and Canucks in Vancouver. The Predators and Coyotes, it is 2-1 Preds out in the desert. with about 10 minutes remaining in the first period. The Ducks and Kraken are as well just underway out in Seattle. Games that have gone final. Got some help, Pat. Sorry. Al, I got some help.
Son of a bitch. I've been called many things in my life.
Wow.
Not the gobbler.
Wow. So games that have gone final, we got help. The Maple Leafs all over the Capitals, 5-1. So we still maintain that slim lead over the Capitals in the Metro. 2-0 Senators over the Blackhawks. It was the Islanders 3-2 over the Panthers. The Penguins beat the Blue Jackets 3-2, and the Hurricanes over the Red Wings 4-0. And that is your scores around the National Hockey League on this Thursday night. I'm sorry about that, Al. I didn't mean to do that.
I forgive you this time.
I didn't mean
to not let it happen again. Do you know what you can do? Because I'm gonna since you did that, I'm gonna take this from you. But what you could do for me is you can go to phillysportstrips.com and sign us up for this great Brazil trip coming up in the beginning of September, first game of the season on a Friday night to kick off the season. One of the many, many trips. You can go to phillysportstrips.com, line them up, get them out. And if you want to make it up to me, maybe one of those Phillies trips or possibly anything, I'll take whatever I can get right now. But or one of the many or all the away games for the Eagles will be announced once we know what those trips will be. But go to phillysportstrips.com, tell them EOP and the Fighting Fire, or I'm sorry, Clear the Ice sent you. It's going to be really confusing. We're going to be doing this a lot,
We're going to be fighting the ice and clearing the final here at some point. Yeah, no, I agree. But listen, some other news in Flyerland today, Al. Over the last 24 hours, we've apparently added 2 goalies. We can talk about that if you like, because it's a very interesting piece of news.
Yeah.
But Alexei Kolosov and a familiar name.
Good coleslaw.
Yeah, Coley. I like Coley the goalie. I think that's really good. I like that.
We'll work with that.
We did Stolars. We called him Stoli the goalie. Why can't we do Coley the goalie? Anyway, and then a familiar name, Ivan Fedotov. Both had their contracts voided by their KHL teams within the last 24 hours, and both are expected to be joining the Flyers in some capacity at some point. Both of them are totally 2 different situations, though, Al. And Fedotov has a contract that's been suspended, right? Because there was all that nonsense over, he got arrested for avoiding military service, served his year, but the KHL tried to void out his NHL contract once he finished up his service obligation. The International Ice Hockey Federation had to step in and intervene and upheld and all that, and his contract was still valid. It was just suspended. That contract is for this year, Al. So if he arrives and the Flyers put him as the backup goalie with the Flyers, that contract starts and it ends this season. It would be over. He'd be a UFA at the end of the year.
6-7 game contract at this point.
And the playoffs if they happen to get
there. It's like an NBA 10-game contract.
So the question I have, would the Flyers be better served just to shove them this year and just have a full year of them next year? I mean, that's a point that I think needs to be looked at. I get it. We got the goaltending situation, but how much more are we going to be able to fix this year? And then the other one, Alexei Kolosov, is a very high talented young player. The Flyers drafted, I think, 2 years ago. He signed his ELC at the beginning of the year, and that contract's been going all season long. So he's going to have 2 years left on his deal next year regardless. But there's this whole thing now about the Flyers, whether they place these goaltenders in certain positions. For example, if they don't decide to bring them to the Flyers and they send both of them to Lehigh, they can't call any of them up because they've run out of all their 4 post-trade deadline call-up moves. The only way the Flyers could get a goalie from Lehigh to Philly is on an emergency injury basis. So someone would have to get hurt in order for a goalie to go up, and it would have to be one of the goalies that gets hurt. Now,
I'm just saying, it is the 30-year anniversary of Tanya Harding. That's it. That's all I want to say.
No, that's a good point. But there's another wrinkle in this. The NHL. So when Carter Hart was taken away and moved to where he had to go, the NHL gave the Flyers, and they gave all the teams affected by this, salary cap relief, and they also put the replacement for that player as an emergency backup, designated him as an emergency replacement. So Cal Peterson was the emergency replacement for Carter Hart, which then turned into Felix Sandstrom. So technically, the designation of Felix Sandstrom is an emergency goalie. So another goalie could replace him as an emergency call-up. So there's a pathway to this, yes. there's a pathway. The question now goes, how would the Flyers be better served? Or more importantly, how would these young goaltenders be better served?
I think the simple answer is I think Kozlov or Kolosov
There you go.
is I think he's going to have the higher ceiling with us. Just saying, just based on what age and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what you do, let him come up. You still got 2 years with him no matter what. Let Sandstrom go back down. Let this guy get a little time, see what he can do in the NHL, and just leave the other guy down there until next year, and then we see what we have.
Now, Kolosov has never played a hockey game in North America. He never played North American ice, never played North American ice rink dimensions, never played any higher than the KHL, which is the third best league in the world, and there's something to that. But there is also something to the fact that he's never played in North America or on this ice or at this speed. So I get what you're saying. It's got to happen sooner or later. He's got to figure it out. He's got to get baptized by fire. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I harken back to the Orion Kerkering situation last year in the playoffs, where he was put in high level pressure situations that I didn't think he belonged, and it didn't quite work out too well for the Phillies. So I don't know. There's two sides of this coin, and
it's a little different. Let's be
honest. Why
is
it different?
Well, the Flyers making the postseason is a plus, but the Flyers with Cup aspirations is a little different. We had World Series aspirations for this Phillies team last year, and Kerkering, coming up just a couple weeks into the end of the season is a lot different than coming up to this fight. Like at this point, I'm like, try anything that works. I want to see these guys have the best opportunity to win and to get the best out of the playoffs, but I'm also being realistic. So if we think that there's a chance that Kolosov is a guy that's going to be somebody in the future of this organization, at least there's a chance. A little baptism by fire never hurt anybody. Or it did.
Well, yeah, it has. But listen, I kind of agree to that because it kind of fits in with this year one rebuild education. Let's go out and let's experience all of it because we're not going to know it unless we go through it. And you're not going to get better from it unless you go through it and maybe fail at it. So I agree. I'm actually kind of hedging towards agreeing with you. So we'll wait and see.
The ice isn't the only cold thing on the floor, right? If you're agreeing with me.
No, I won't.
Yeah.
But if you
come on soon to wash Citizens Bank Park away for him to agree with me.
If you want to read more about this, I did 2 articles over the last day or so. They're up there on the website, so check them out. And yeah, a very interesting situation with the goalies right now in Philadelphia. But
yeah. Steve goes, you don't care how we get the 12, and the math's a little off, but yes, 4 for 4, 4-0-4, whatever it is to get it done, to get the 12 points to lock this up. I really don't care how it happens either. It's going to be every game's going to be like a playoff game. I don't care if they're playing the worst team in the league or the best team in the league. Just please, no more gauntlet fatigue. I think tonight's game could have been racked up to that, but anything after tonight that's not gauntlet fatigue. That is, they've gotten their own way. They shot themselves in the foot. Tonight, you can use the term gauntlet fatigue, but that would just be for tonight only in my eyes.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't. You think you go through a 7-game stretch like that, and you play that type of competition, and then you come up with a lower level competition. It should be like practicing catching a baseball with a ping pong ball versus catching a real baseball. So I don't know. I kind of see where you guys are coming from, but we're 73 games into the season. Everybody's dealing with some sort of fatigue, some sort of, they're all banged up. I think the Flyers, again, simply put, took a team that they couldn't take lightly. They took them lightly, and they just simply can't do that.
No, they can't. But even though Flyers lost 4-1, we have to pick your stars of the game. So, Matty B,
yeah,
what do you got for me for your 3 stars of the game?
Okay, star number 1, or I should say star number 3, Cam Atkinson. What are you talking about? Yeah, he found his way back onto the ice tonight. 11 minutes or 10:54. Did not figure in any shots, any goal scoring but he found his way back out on the ice for just the purposes of me giving him the third star of the game. Is we're paying him about AAV of about $5 million a year, and I'd much rather see that $5 million on the ice doing something. Let's put a pair of skates on.
On the ice 11 days ago for 10 minutes. Man.
No. So K. Magnuson getting back on the ice tonight. He's my number 3 star. I know it doesn't sound it sounds somewhat fake, made up. It's not. There's a method to my madness. I think they went a big way. My number 2 star, I got to give it to Travis Konechny, who seems to go out there game after game, shift after shift, even though he ended up with a -2 tonight. Just tries to put that team on his back. He ended up with an assist and a point. He's always in the mix of everything that happens in the Flyers this season. It's always on Delaware Ave. What do you know? Oh, wait, that's the Aztec Club. Isn't it the one on Delaware Ave? No, Club Egypt was on Delaware Ave, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was off 95 and right by the bridge. Yeah.
Back there in the 90s. I remember that. Yeah.
All right. Little for my time. My wifey went there. I didn't.
Yeah, no, I went there. I'm
a dive bar kind of guy. I don't know if it's hard to tell or not.
No, I did the club thing. But anyway, Konechny just consistently.
Oh man, I would love to see Matty B at a rave.
No, so back then it wasn't raves. It was
glow sticks and all.
No, that's a whole other side. That's a whole other generation. That ain't me either. So he's my number 2 star, and my number 1 star. Even though he tried to do what he had to do, he almost willed us to victory. He almost got us back in this game. I'm going to give it to Garnet Hathaway. He did finish with an assist and a point, with a plus/minus of 0. He came within a kick emotion of getting us right back in the game. And it was hard for me to pick out 3 stars. I'm not going to lie. This was one of those blog games, and it was very tough. But I'm going to go with those 3.
Yeah, we're going to have a little crossover. My number 3 is Owen Tippett. Scored the only goal of the game. Still doing Owen Tippett type things. Even when this team's bad, Owen Tippett's good. So I give Owen Tippett number 3. Number 2, I want to agree with you on the Garnet Hathaway. Always just seems to give some life. If he's got to pick a fight with somebody, he'll pick a fight with somebody just to get this team going. And a couple times it looks like he was doing that, and he did have that lone point. Had some 3 really decent hit between him and Konechny. Had some really good hits tonight. Trying to keep the physicality alive. And number 1 star of the game are the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, there you go. See,
we're losing.
Yes,
we're losing tonight and keeping us right in the game.
Now you're understanding why I built this thing like this, because it makes everybody start to think outside the box. I think the other night I gave it to a youth hockey team that was being celebrated at Wells Fargo. It was the Panther game. They at the end of the season, a youth hockey team got a chance to go to the Flyers game. They were like my 3rd star of the game that night because they had an opportunity to go out there and celebrate. See, that's why I built it like this, to start making people think outside the box. Good job, Al.
You got to be careful when you get guys on this network to think. Things start to smell like burnt toast pretty quickly. Well, I'm just got to point that out there.
You're right. You're right.
But those will be my star of the game, and that will probably bring us to the end of it. But guys, if you're sitting there going, I really like these 2, and I like watching these 2 do what they do. You were supposed to get double dose tonight, but I'm thinking the hockey gods and the baseball gods said, you know what? The Delaware Valley just could not handle that. So let's clean it up a little bit. Let's give it to them. Let's push it to Friday for the Phillies game, and the inaugural Fightins final for the 2024 Phillies season will be kicked off by yours truly, me and Matty B, on tomorrow. Guess around 6 o'clock-ish at the end of the 3:05 start for your Fighting Phils against the dreaded Atlanta Braves.
Yep, and then you're going to see Al again on Saturday, as he's going to be taking the final on his own, and then Mike will finish this up on Sunday. So we're back pulling double duties. We would not have it any other way. It really hurt my heart last year when we turned off Clear the Ice at the end of their season and when the Philly season began, because obviously it just wasn't relevant, and it was all about, we focused on the Phillies. But I'm so glad that we've been able to kind of, unfortunately for a lot of people, because there's a lot of work to be done, but we're going both with them, because obviously we're not going to pull away from the clear the ice right now, because there's a middle of a playoff run, and now we got the Phillies. It's a great time of the year.
Yeah, and you know what? We've definitely expanded in 365 days here. So yeah, so no, it's a lot of new things coming here at EOP, and it's going to be pretty exciting over the next, especially 30 days, but in the next few months, it's going to be really exciting. So
well, Al, I got one more thing that's going to be really exciting post 30 days, and that's for all you wiffle ball maniacs that just can't live without the sport. And you know what? Dolan's got you covered. Dolan's annual Wiffle Ball Mania, May 25th, 2024, down there in Dolan's in Ridley Park, Pennsylvania. Wiffle Ball Mania veteran Mickey Morandini will be on hand, bringing along with him his buddy from the 93 Phillies and current Phillies TV color analyst. They both look really pissed off in this picture. John Kruk is going to make his inaugural appearance down there at Dolan's. I believe, Al, it is free to attend, but there's a little fee to actually participate in the wiffle ball. But save that date, May 25th.
yeah, no, and it's great. And they kind of leave it a little open to the family. My kids have been there and got Mickey to sign jerseys and baseball gloves. So PJ does it right. Whenever he does anything, and I know there's going to be a charity involved, there's a lot more details to come. I'm actually working them out. And the one big detail we technically have announced, but haven't announced on social media, is that EOP will be broadcasting from there that day as well. So you'll hear from Mickey, you'll hear from the Cruxter. You know, we got a lot going on here. I told you, buckle up. It's going to be
Is
fun.
it the Cruxter or the Crucker?
I've heard it both ways. I think Crucker is the more used one in this case.
Cruxter makes me think of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Okay. And he's a big wrestling fan, John Crux. So he might be. I think that's all he talked about last year when they announced that WrestleMania was going to be in Philadelphia. He kept bringing it up.
So he'll be front row center in WrestleMania.
I would not be surprised. No, I don't know what the Phillies schedule's like that week of because that would be not this Sunday, not next Sunday, but the following. I think like the 14th, 15th, something like that. So whatever
sure he'll find his
Phillies
way there.
are doing, yeah, I'm sure maybe he'll be off that night. We'll find out. And we're gonna have full coverage, guys. For those who are any wrestling fans, WWE fans, our boy Joey Wood from the Steel Steps podcast will be. Check out the website. Speaking of, he already put a few different articles out about WrestleMania, some of the new things that they're launching this year, including the one today was about the WWE World, I think it's called, and it's kind of like when they do the draft here. You know, they kind of have all these like experiences. Like you can get some WWE experiences, you know, for the fans, a fan experience. So he kind of broke that down a little bit so you can find out what that's going to be all about. So it's a whole Thursday to Monday thing. They got everything covered. It's going to be interesting. So
turning into almost like a carnival atmosphere, like a multiple
I mean,
showcase.
WrestleMania is now 2 nights, and now, you know, because before it was the night before, the 2 nights before was like the Hall of Fame induction, things like that. Wow. But yeah, no, it's actually this is the first WrestleMania where there's going to be 2 nights and two different wrestlers or 3 different wrestlers pulling double duty on both nights. They'll be wrestling 2 nights in a row.
Ooh, yeah, go check that out.
Quite interesting.
Check that out. But before we sign off for the night, I want to go back and thank our sponsors. You got Sherry's Tickets for the best tickets around. Enter the promo code EOP10, save additional 10%. Don't feel bamboozled. If life makes you feel bamboozled, then go call Dave Cherry, and he'll try to talk you off the ledge and give you his very best for workman's compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, criminal law, and all the great things they got happening over at Philly Sports Trips. Don't forget, this is coming up in September, but they got you covered through the summer too. Multiple trips for the Phillies, Fenway Park, Wrigley Field, Pittsburgh, you name it, they're headed that way. So head on.
Actually, going to the Derby too, the Kentucky Derby.
Yes,
they have stuff going on in Germany for the Union. I believe they have a trip to Italy for something as well. So, yeah, internationally, nationally, around the corner, bus trips, they got it all.
And don't forget, May 25th, save the date on your calendar, Dolan's Wiffle Ball Mania, starring John Kruk and Mickey Morandini.
Yeah. So other than that, guys, I want to thank you for joining us. Like I said, me and Matty B will be back at this again, but not Flyers. We're going to be talking Phillies tomorrow. Post-game. Yeah, we're going to switch hats. Post-game. So check it out. Matty B, thank you as always. Always a pleasure. For all you tuning in. We thank you again. Like Matty B said, the Clear the Ice is not going anywhere. We will be here through the playoff run, maybe Stanley Cup run. We'll see. We'll see where that goes to.
God help me.
God help us all. But other than that, guys, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.